Practice Activity 3A.
We're going to work with drawing SUF1-A1 surface, and we're going to add some contour information and we're going to create surfaces. We'll start in the Tool Space Prospector tab and we'll select the Surfaces object in the Prospector tab. With that selected, we'll right click and we're going to choose Create Surface. When we create the surface, we're given the option to select the type. Right now, I'm looking at a TIN surface, which is my default. We will leave that as is. For the name, I'm going to click the three little dots to the right of name to open up the name template dialog, and I'm going to name it X-Topo. With the name in the name field, I'm going to leave all the other defaults as they are. And for my style, I'm going to make sure I have contours 2 foot and 10 foot in the background selected. With that selected, I'll click OK. I've created that surface. It's listed right now under my Surfaces object group in my Tool Space Prospector tab. And now I'm going to do a quick save on my drawing, and then I'm going to move along. And I'm going to insert some contour information. So I'm going to my Insert tab. From my Insert tab, I'm going to go over to the blocks. I'm going to click to insert a block. Now, in this particular activity, it's slightly different than the textbook image for inserting that block. We're going to choose to insert our block from our libraries. We're going to, under the files, we're going to browse. We're going to look for the Site-Contours drawing that's found within the Surfaces folder within our Civil training exercises from the publisher. So with that Site-Contours drawing selected, I'll click Open. And now under my insertion options, I need to check my insertion point is at 0 for X, 0 for Y, 0 for Z. My rotation is 0. I need to check the explode option. I need to make sure uniform scale is selected. With that selected, I'm going to insert. Selected, I'll select the Site-Contours drawing. I'm going to take the whole drawing. It's important that it be set to explode, uniform scale, insertion point 0, 0, 0. And with that selected, I'll close out. I'll enter 1 for my scale. And my contour information from the Site-Contours drawing has now been added. With the information added, I'm going to zoom in just a tad so I can see all of the contours, but not so far in that I couldn't select all of them. So I'm going to Alright, with the contours in a view where I could select all of them, I'm now going to go to my Home tab, to my Layers group, and I'm looking specifically for the Isolate layer. So it's the second one in on the middle row of icons with the arrow pointing forward. I'll click on that. I'm going to type Select Settings. And my settings are going to be off. I'm going to turn off again. And now I'm going to select from my contour lines one of the major contour lines and one of the minor. The major, of course, are the bolder, the minor are the finer weight. With one of each selected, I'll hit Enter to isolate those layers. Now, again, I'll expand the Surfaces group within the Tool Space Prospector tab. I'll expand the X-Topo group. and then the definition collection associated with it. I'm going to select the contours information. I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose to add. In the Add Contour Data dialog box, I'm going to leave all of the defaults. I have 15 foot for distance, angle 4 degrees, distance 100 feet, and 1 foot for my mid-ordinance. I've got filling gaps in contour data selected, adding points to flat triangle edges selected, and adding points to flat edges. With those options selected, I'll click OK. I'm prompted to select contours. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select all of the contour objects, and that's why I was sure to zoom on out that I could window around everything earlier. So it's all selected. I've windowed around it. I'm going to hit enter to enter that information. So I've added those contours and the software has created a surface. Now, because the original 2 contour lines that I selected, we chose those so that we could isolate the layers that they were on. So we can't see the surface data that we've just added and created. So to view everything now, we'll have to go to unisolate on our layers group. We'll click on that. That will unisolate those layers so we can see all of the information now, and we can see the added surface data. So at this point, I'm going to freeze those original layers that I had frozen earlier by selecting the major and minor contour lines. And I'm going to, I can either go to layer properties and find them listed in there, or click on them. I'm going to actually go to layer properties. I'm going to scroll on down to a topo major, and I'm going to click on the little sun to freeze them. Same thing with a topo minor. They've both been frozen. And of course I could have done this by going in and carefully clicking on them and then clicking on the freeze layer option, but I felt like that was easier. All right, now that we've done this, if we select any of the surface lines, you'll notice we get the surface contextual information available to us. So we can look at surface properties, we can add data, but these are all of the tools that are associated with surfaces. At this point, I'm going to unselect those and I'll save my drawing.
So continuing on with task 3 of activity 3A, we're going to look at refining our surface. We're going to look at the point data. Right now, our topographical lines are turned off, and we're going to look at our point groups. So in the Toolspace Prospector tab, we're going to highlight point groups. We're going to right click and we're going to look at the properties. When we look at the properties, we're given a listing of point groups, and the order within which they're displayed defines the layers or the order in which they're displayed. So the list is consistent with how they're displayed in our drawing space. So we're going to rearrange these point groups, and we're going to start by taking our no display group and moving it to the top, and then we'll follow with the X road surface point group, and we're going to move that just above the no display. So now I've got X road at the top followed by no display. With the point groups reordered, I'll click OK, and we can see right away it changes everything. All right, now in our Prospector tab, we'll highlight surfaces, and we're going to create a new surface. We'll right click and we'll choose Create Surface. We want to create a tin surface, and we're going to name it X road with an uppercase E and an uppercase R, and we'll make that our X road. And the style is contours, 2-foot and 10-foot backgrounds, which is what we have by default. We'll click OK to accept that style. Now we'll expand our surfaces group in the Toolspace Prospector tab, and we can see our X road surface that we just created. We'll expand that again. Looking at the X road, we'll see that we have under definition a plus sign. We'll expand that. Within the definition of the X road, we'll see there's a point groups. So we're going to select point groups within the definition of X roads. We'll right click and we're going to choose add. And now to add to the point groups that define X road, we're going to select from our listing of point groups the X road point group. So we'll select that. We'll click OK. All right, so we've added the X road point group. We'll save that. Now we're going to look at our contour style. There's very little grade change for this particular road that we're looking at. And we're going to look at the surfaces collection. We're going to look at X road. And we'll select X road. Under surfaces, we'll right click and we're going to choose surface properties. So with surface properties selected, we'll go to the information tab, and under the default styles where we have contours, 2-foot and 10-foot background, we're going to click on the style option, the drop down. It looks like a paintbrush and a pencil. And we're going to start by copying the current selection, and then we'll modify it. So for the information tab, we're going to type in a name. We're going to type in ASC-contours. Okay, so we're going to replace the default name that we had copied with ASC-contours, 0.5 feet and 2.5 feet. For our description, well, we'll modify that, 0.5 feet. Oops. And 2.5 feet intervals. Okay. Okay, with that set, we'll click OK. Okay again. Now we're going to zoom in. Actually, let me go back to surface properties. I think I was too quick. So we have our contours at 2-foot and 5-foot. Back to the information tab. Okay. I'm going to choose to edit the current selection. I think I missed a step. So I'm going to my contour tab. I'm expanding contour intervals. I want to make sure that my minor interval, and I did miss this step, and I apologize, 0.5 feet for our minor and 2.5 for our major interval. So that was a critical step I should have done before I clicked OK initially. So having done that, we've modified our contour lines up here at this road that runs at the north of our site. I'm going to quickly zoom on in. And now we can see we have many more contour lines in this area because we're applying them at 1/2 foot intervals and 2.5 foot intervals. So I'm going to save my drawing, and this was it for 3A.